Privyet, this is Farley, and welcome to a very, very sunny Bishkek, capital of Kyrgyzstan. And this here is Victory Park. Victory Park that is, frankly, in this neck of the woods, a name that is 10 a penny. Every city has one. It is kind of the former Soviet Asian, Central Asian version of, I think, calling a pub, calling a boozer the Red Lion. There's a lot of them. But look, this one, as very nicely detailed here, was built in 1985 to celebrate or commemorate 40 years since the end of the Second World War. And here we are, another 40 years further along the track, and it still looks absolutely lovely. So we are going to take a look in the middle. I think you can see right in the distance already there's an eternal flame. So let's go check that out. There's some heat coming off that. And we've got this statue here. Now, as you can see here, where these three beams meet, if we zoom in on that, the old hammer and sickle, another nice looking memorial here. And you can see in the distance one of the towers from a mosque, and Islam is the principal religion here. Remember, Kazakhstan is just to the north, which has a lot more, still Islam, but has a lot more Russian Orthodox. We are that little bit further away from Russia here. But look at this. So some troops in the war. Now that is a beautiful park, but what we're going to next, you can just see over the road here, and that is the Kyrgyz State Circus. And these Central Asian former Soviet countries, indeed any former Soviet country actually, absolutely love a state circus. It's very, very big. Now look, I'm not really big into circuses. As a Plymouth Argyle fan, I've seen my fair share of clown shows this season, but I do love the architecture of these old buildings, so we are going to check them out. I'm going to get run over. We are going to go check out this building because it looks pretty wild. How incredible. Looks almost like a UFO or something, but look, I've seen people come out of it, so we are going to use that as a sign to go into it. Take a look. So the big question is, what is actually inside these things now? Well, maybe it still is a circus. Sadly, inside that building, you couldn't really go look around, and it was just a queue to come back later for a show. So I'm out, but we are now going to find another kind of building that looks just as brutalist, just as Soviet, and that is the Wedding Palace. And we saw one of these in Alatu, remember? So if you haven't checked out that video, be sure to check it out. Bishkek sits to the north of Kyrgyzstan, on one side of a mountain range, and on the other side of that is Kazakhstan. It's been known as Bishkek since the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and it holds, or has a population of, should I say, just over 1 million people. There seems to be a lot of buildings here that I think could do with a lick of paint. However, there's also an absolute ton of new building work going on, sort of sky rises going up. So this seems like an area that's really growing. And here we are at the Wedding Palace. So let's start off, because this is very funny. And then I'm going to show you the building. What is this bad boy? So we are here at the Wedding Palace, as you could tell by this stretch limo here, and even weirder, this bad boy. Look at this. But that's not why we're here. We are here for the building, and this is Soviet architecture in a nutshell. It is incredible. Look at this fountain. Obviously not turned on. Why would it be? Lovely mosaic, but that building. This is such a cool building. We're going to go take a closer look. They've left the door open, which I can only assume they knew I was coming and they wanted to take a look. The Kyrgyz flag, just very faded by sun. Yeah, they must know. They must know that I'm coming, right? Let's go see what something like this looks like on the inside. Okay, so this is where you'd come. Young couples would come and get married. I guess the ceremony's through there. We have a pretty cool statue here in front of what I have seen on Google is the National Library of Kyrgyzstan. Now, one thing I wanted to point out that is pretty cool. Having a little QR code so you can find out about the person is fantastic. What isn't fantastic is that I opened it up on my browser and it doesn't work. But again, the architecture here is so cool, and I think we should probably go have a look inside. So this is somewhere I'd not heard of before I came here. I just saw the building, thought it looked good and wanted to check it out, but got a really long history this. Founded in 1934, it was originally known as the, and I'm going to say this wrong, Nikolai Chernyshevsky State Library. He was a radical Russian journalist who was, they say, was a forerunner to Lenin in terms of ideas. Over 6 million documents in here, 89 languages. So, should we go take a look?
Registracja.
Thank you. And we are in. So I had to pay 10 som, but that works out at roughly 8 pence, so we're okay. But now we can take a look around.
И он сам тоже был переводчиком и перевел Пушкина, Евгения Онегин и Шекспира Отелло. Они ставили драмы в театре.
Thank you. So this kind lady is telling me all about Akul Osmanov. Akul Osmanov, who's a kind of famous writer from here. Thank you for Google Translate, it's fantastic. That was a really nice chat with that lady who told me all about this kind of famous writer from here. I didn't necessarily want to hear all that, but it was quite a cool interaction all the same. It's such a cool building with this like massive hall being definitely one of the coolest bits. I'm trying to be very quiet because there's plenty of, well, we're in a library obviously, plenty of students working stuff, but this seems to be a room too for Abay, who's the sort of Kazakh writer that we saw a lot of in the Kazakhstan stuff, so check out those videos if you haven't already. It's locked. Such a cool building. So it seems like every country has like a section here. So there's a Russian one. We've seen a Turkish one, a Kazakh one, Korean one. I wonder if there's an English one. Now we're just trotting around Bishkek and I've found this. Look at this massive bas relief on this building. You have some soldiers there and you have the hammer and sickle on the corner of the building. So I looked it up and this is actually the Mikhail Frunze Museum. Now I am definitely pronouncing that wrong, as I pronounce most things wrong. So I am sorry about that. But this guy is actually a very, very significant figure in this city. He was Lenin's kind of one of Lenin's right-hand men, apparently. But what makes him very important to this city in particular is before it was known as Bishkek, it was known as Pishkek in honor of this guy. So here is his museum, and I think while we are walking past, it would be rude not just to have a little quick look inside and see what's going on. Actually a really well decorated building. Some reliefs up there, lots of smaller ones along here too. This place really does look cool. So let's go get in here. Bolshevik soldiers up there, I believe. All right, let's get in. So to start off, 150 som. What's that work out as? A little bit over £1, not too bad. Alright, didn't plan to come in here. We have Lenins. We have all sorts of Soviet stuff. This is cool. So I think for me, the 20th century is by far the most interesting part of history. Ancient Romans, take it or leave it. Greeks, take it or leave it. Egyptians, yeah, fair enough, that's cool. But the 20th century, you have 2 world wars. You have the Soviet Union, the rise and fall. You have Vietnam. And here is the chap that this city was named after, at least for a short while. This city was for so long. It's important to remember that this man and this period are very divisive. Some look back in a positive light and many absolutely do not. I guess this was obviously somewhere else at some point before being moved and kept here for safekeeping. What's that, Mikhail? Like, comment, subscribe. You heard the man. I think I'm the only person currently in this museum who is not meant to be here or paid to be here. I've got to say, if you just want to see, I mean, I don't understand most of it, but if you just want to see a load of old Soviet stuff, this place has got it. Now, can I just draw your attention to what might be one of the biggest flags I've ever seen in my life? What is going on there then? Now, this building is under quite a lot of renovation by the looks of it. Almost Art Deco-like down here. Got this very, very cool relief on here. This is the Supreme Court, which I imagine would be pretty amazing if you were here when this had been properly renovated. One. Small. Yeah, thank you. So, all over this city there, on the corners, there are little stands with babushkas selling some sort of drink from these sort of flask things. Now, I picked one up for 24 som, works out about 20 pence, I think. Got the smallest size. Let's take a look at it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, and I do not mean any disrespect to the people of Kyrgyzstan. This looks like, and again, please don't take this wrong, this looks like chunder, this looks like vomit, this looks like you've been at Cheltenham races, you got on the train at 7 AM, you've been pounding cans, you get to Cheltenham, you pound more pints of Guinness, you win a couple of races, you get confident, you buy more Guinness, and then you go into town after the races, then it gets to 6 PM, you're onto the spirits and you cannot handle it. That's what this looks like, speaking from experience. We're going to taste it. I'm hoping it doesn't involve milk. It does look kind of white, which concerns me as someone with a lactose problem. Oh, okay. First thoughts. one of those rare cases where it tastes like it looks. Again, please don't take that disrespectfully, Kyrgyzstan. It's not very nice. I don't know what it is. It tastes kind of like malty biscuits left in like sort of rancid like milky water. I don't know. I can't work this flavour out. All in all, I've got to say I do not enjoy this. Again, hugely sorry about that, Kyrgyzstan. I will do better. Can you name these two? It is, of course, Karl Marx and Engels. First Marx I think I've seen here. So along from Engels, along from Marx, you have the rest of Oak Park. And this is absolutely lovely. And I've got to say, this city is full of lush greenery, and you might need 1 or 2 Yandexes, you might need to get a cab at some point, but for the most part, you can just use your 1s and 2s, stomp around the city, and feel all the better for it. It's absolutely lovely. So in this park, it's a museum of sculptures. There are over 90 different sculptures that in 1984 were donated here, all from different Kyrgyz sculptors even. Some are very, very good. Some maybe not so good. But it's very cool, very relaxing park. But over here is the memorial for the Red Guards. Looks like there would have been some sort of eternal flame there. Yeah, seems to have disappeared. So here is one for the Yas Queen Boss Brigade. So I've done some very, very poor reading. And this lady, from what I've read, and this is going to be very, very wrong, this lady here was effectively became like a leader of one kind of small area around here. And when Russia annexed it back in the day, she told the people not to fight against Russia and sort of maintain that relationship with the Tsar. But here she is honoured today. So if you know a bit more about this lady behind us, something that's actually true, please comment below. It would be greatly appreciated. Not a Scooby what this thing is, but it looks cool. Looks like it's seen better days, mind you. They need to refurb this. Is that wood? Yes. Oh, there's a statue inside. Again, really nice building. In desperate need of a bit of TLC. Oh, the hunt for some incredible Soviet architecture has found one of the most famous places in the city, the Alatu cinema. What a building. And these reliefs here are so cool. We have the cosmonaut, the stars, the people of Kyrgyzstan, planting agriculture. You're reading hammer and sickle, somebody with a dove. One of the most incredible looking buildings. What a throwback. So this is the famous Martyrs of the Revolution statue. Now this actually won something called the All-Union Lenin Award back in the day, which was basically for creating art that really spoke about the resistance, about the revolution. And this lady here, right at the top, again I apologise for butchering the name, is Akuya Salieva, 1910 to 1934. She was an influential socialist organiser, but I think what's the most interesting thing here is actually these two sort of statues down below her, and these are meant to signify the common man, the peasants uniting, and the force that they can kind of do here. So you have the farmer, you have the falconer, That cow is absolutely sensational. And you head over here, you have more workers, you have wives, and everyone is coming together for the revolution. So you can even, if you're a smoker, which I am not, you can even just buy darts, single, in the park from random booths. Weird. This little bad boy is the Bishkek Battle Monument. This fella comes from, I believe, the Salto tribe. That's what Google is telling me. His sword in his lid, shield. And here we are in Alatu Square, and I have to say, this is absolutely beautiful. You have the fountains here, you have this amazing array of, I believe, shops and restaurants and all sorts of stuff around here. And a nice sort of whitish stone with the gold tops on top of the buildings, these incredible fountains, and then this ludicrously big flag. This apparently is 100 meters tall, this flagpole, made of galvanized steel, and it was only put up at the tail end of 2014, the end of summer. And over there on the other side of this building work is the State History Museum. We'll go check that out in a bit. Apparently it's full of some really cool stuff. But this flag is absolutely ridiculous. And one thing I will never understand is why countries seem to be obsessed with gigantic flags. The absolute size of this flag. Goodness gracious me. So here is the State Museum, and it is an incredible bit of Soviet era architecture. Frustratingly, as you can see here, this is all kind of cordoned off for some renovations. Otherwise we'd get a slightly better view, but let's go take a look at it and go inside. So behind us, that gigantic flagpole, Alatu Square, and in front, the National History Museum. This is going to be very interesting, I'm sure. Very grand entrance. Inside of here, it looks very comfy. So the second floor, back down there, it's got more of the, I guess, the nomadic history. You have yurts, you have some old instruments, you have old clothing. But up here, if I'm honest, this floor is more what I'm interested. We're talking 1916 onwards. It's really good. There's signs here in English, so if you're ignorant, such as me and a lot of other Brits, then you can still find out exactly what went down. So this is really interesting. Back when collectivization was a big thing, they wanted to make everything a bit more, or even at least appear like that. So they got rid of a lot of the local tribesmen who were better off than noblemen, and they sort of dispossessed them and then sent them packing to Ukraine, to Siberia, to the North Caucasus. It's pretty crazy. Stripped from their home country for simply having a bit of moolah, a bit of cash, a bit of readies, a bit of wonga. So in 1941, the Great Patriotic War started, and over 600,000 people from this country went to the front, whether that was the physical front in the war, or whether that was in terms of labour, preparing things for the war. And 1 in 5 people was involved in the war effort on some level, despite being so far away from play. Over 365,000 people went as soldiers, and staggeringly, nearly half of those, 160,000, were never fortunate enough to come back. So here we have some fellas about to do some trimming, but more importantly, just around here should be, there he is, Vladimir Lenin. That is absolutely gigantic. Out the back of the National State Museum. If you turn around, we have the government building over there. Incredible square. So this statue is made of bronze, weighs over 20 tons, and was originally in the Alatu square just on the other side of this museum, which we saw earlier, which was originally called Lenin Square, but was obviously changed after independence. Now this country has a bit of a strange relationship with Lenin, because obviously there's the past with the Soviet Union, but he was actually kind of instrumental in a lot of things in the formation of Kyrgyzstan. So despite being a troublesome figure in many ways and having a very complex past, Lenin is kind of associated with Kyrgyzstan getting its own statehood, so there is kind of some mixed feelings here. Here in Osh Bazaar. Now it is bedlam here. This is one of, I believe, 2 main bazaars in the city. This is over on the west, Osh Bazaar. This is the smaller one. This sells all your regular stuff, your household stuff. You got food, you got bedding. Inevitably, you're going to have someone selling dodgy knockoff Barcelona or Real Madrid shirts. And on the other side of the city, there's another one called Dordoy Bazaar that's basically, it's huge, one of the biggest markets in the whole of Asia. But that one's more of a wholesale market. So you have stuff coming out of China, through Central Asia, into Russia and so on. But look, we're going to have a little look around here. Probably a bit of tap, but who knows what we'll find. Sorry. Vapes, hats, lovely stuff. Some drinks. Christ, I could do with a cold drink. I think it's going to have to be done. Let me tell you, it's about 30, 31, 32 here at the moment. This stuff hits like crack. It's all sorts of sweets, some sausages, some toys, sweets, noodles, household stuff, more foods and booze. What sort of booze we got here? Some nice booze. Lots of vodka. So this is it's quite a strange feeling, because my only reference point for somewhere like this has been when I've been to the Middle East. More stuff in here. This is absolutely ginormous. So as we walk through Osh Bazaar, I think it's time to remind you that if you have any opinions, comment. At the very least, drop a like, it helps a lot. And if you feel being particularly generous, please subscribe, hugely appreciated. Lots of dried fruit and so I think this is more like I think I was on the outskirts before, and this is more like the actual real deal part of Osh Bazaar. Closes up at 5 p.m. and it's 4 p.m, so I guess that might be why a couple of things aren't open. Or maybe they're only open at weekends or something, but loads of dried fruit, all sorts of stuff. Again, this is not very touristy at all. I actually thought it might be like the Green Bazaar in Almaty that is an absolute tourist trap. So, I just picked up some dried apricots, little bag from this lady's stall, worked out at 88 pence, so that's 100 som, local currency. So is that good value, or have I paid a little tourist tax? Who knows? All right, let's give it a go. They're very hard. That's good. Sheep. Wow. Sheep?
No, this horse.
Horse. Oh, wow. That's cool. Spasiba. Now, there's another reason why we went to the Osh Bazaar. And that is why I'm now walking through a load of houses and some small tower blocks. That is because somewhere very close to here, there is a Lenin mosaic. And I've seen a few mosaics on this trip, as you can see in the videos. I have not seen one of Lenin yet. Tried to find one in Almaty, but it was inside a building that was being renovated, so I didn't get to see it. But I believe we are going to see one right now. It's a big one. And there it is. There's Lenin. And here are some Kyrgyzstan people. And this one is known as Lenin is with us. What's so cool about this one is it kind of really moves round. You can see it goes round the corners of this building. And then you see Lenin with his outstretched arm, much like we saw in the statue over in the centre of Bishkek. And here are all the Kyrgyzstan people. You've got children. Is that a cosmonaut there? I guess daughters, military man, a mother and her child. So in the shadow of where they're doing some building work on these flats, there's this nice mural called Radio Nowadays. I don't know what this old building is. I probably shouldn't be coming in here, but what on earth is this little statue? A little baby holding something on top of a lion with wings. So this mosaic here is called Enlightenment by Satar ATF. It is absolutely magnificent, its size, its scope. Now it's on one of the university buildings, but I'm going to get a little bit closer. From a distance it doesn't even look like a mosaic, to be honest. It looks painted, but as you can kind of get a little bit closer now, you can see the individual pieces. And this is obviously very old, but what's kind of interesting is this isn't really pushing like a Soviet ideology. They've got traditional Kyrgyzstani hats, clothes on. That might be the very best one on the trip so far, but next we are going to go find another monument. And I'm going to say it again, this city is so good just to walk around. So this slightly weird looking thing here, where evidently all the kids come and play after school, this is called the Nation's Fathers Monument. And if you look up at it, one, it looks weird, but two, if you look up at it, you can kind of see the names along here, here, here. And originally this wouldn't have looked quite so weird. Originally this had figures of the people named on it. However, in the years that followed this being put up, this country was dealing with a lot of poverty at times. So unfortunately, with these being metal, people came along and took them. So much greenery in this park. Monuments the whole way down, right at the very end, the uni. And this looks like slowly the snow leopard is disappearing from our mountains. We must do our best to conserve it. Little message of conservation. So this grand old guy in front of what looks like a theatre there. This is Manas. Manas is a kind of powerful part of the identity here. He was in a poem called Manas the Great. That's about all I know, but it's a pretty cool statue nonetheless. And here, tucked away behind this electric store, is another mosaic titled Labour, which is about the spirit of working together, building for the country. So, if you're from Kyrgyzstan, or better still, if you're from Bishkek, could you tell me one thing? I can't work it out. Why are there so many KFCs in this country? It's an epidemic. They are everywhere. No lie, I think I've seen 10 KFCs walking around today, and I don't understand it. And here we have a statue of Maxim Gorky, a Russian socialist writer, 5-time Nobel Literature Prize nominee. Cool statue. And just like that, out of nowhere, there's a MiG-21. So this here is a memorial to a far more recent event. Back in 1999, there was a conflict in Bishkek, which is in Kyrgyzstan, and it was between Kyrgyzstan's military and an Islamic terrorist organisation. Kyrgyzstan had support from Uzbekistan and from Russia, but over 100 soldiers died, and this is a little memorial to them. Well, hello there, this is me. I'm back in the UK. I just want to wrap this video up with a quick 30 seconds. Unfortunately, due to a bereavement, I had to head back to the UK straight after I finished recording this video, so I didn't get to finish off in Bishkek, I didn't get to visit Osh in Kyrgyzstan, and I didn't then get to go on to Uzbekistan. But look, I'm really hoping I can go back to those places in the very near future. But I just want to say thank you for watching. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. All that stuff really helps me, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you for watching.